Welcome to Dollars and Cents, hosted by Sanjeev Gupta, CPA. Dollars and Cents is the show about growing more of what you are making, saving more of what you are growing, and making more of what you are growing and saving in the most sensible and tax-efficient manner possible. Feel free to call into our studio number to be live on air with your questions. Call 408-912-5038. That's 408-912-5038. And here is your host of Dollars and Cents, Sanjeev Gupta, CPA.
Good evening, friends. This is your own CPA, Sanjeev Gupta, CPA. Welcome to today's edition of the show, wherein we are going to touch important topics relating to the tax filing, the extensions, and the mistakes that one do encounter when they do the taxes. We're going to cover some of the topics relating to that important area in this show today. In our dollar update, IRS has come out with a new guidance, which is Revenue Procedure 2021-20, which allowed taxpayers who reduced their deductions for expenses paid using the Paycheck Protection Program loan for expenses to elect those deductions in the following taxable year rather than amending the return. What they're saying is, if you have taken the PPP loan and used that loan money for expenses and you filed a return before they came to know that you can double dip those expenses and you file the return not taking those expenses, you don't need to go ahead and amend those return. You can take the deduction for those expenses in the following year. That's a welcome relief. A lot of things are changing in this area. We have been waiting for a lot of guidance on this. IRS did come out in the month of February for double relief on the expenses, but we were not finding any return. Not many CPAs filed the returns. They were keeping those returns on hold. But then California also was playing all the trick in the game. They did not come out with all the things, whether they allow double dipping or not allow double dipping. They came out last 1 month back where they said you can use the double dipping for expenses on California return, provided they meet the 25% reduction in revenue for any one quarter. And they give more clarity at how to calculate those deductions, but they did not come out with the form that can be used to calculate all those things. They have not come out with any kind of calculation. So you have to use your best judgment. Of course, the experience come into account. You need to connect with a CPA, an accountant who really is into it, really understand the regulations, because you don't want to be caught unaware and you get notices in your mail with penalties and interest relating to how you're calculating all those things, and they don't agree with those deductions and they levy all those penalties and interest. So this guidance really helps taxpayers who have filed the extension, who have filed the return, not the extension, who have filed the return, but not claimed those expenses which they've used, which were done from PPP loan money, which they can use those expenses next year. They don't need to go ahead and amend the returns for this one. Bitcoin virtual currencies have got a beating today. They've dropped at least 30 to 35%. Bitcoin has been trading at around $37,000, something like that, and Dogecoin is around 32 cents. I don't know why people deal in those currencies and those virtual currencies. Those are really very speculative, and that comes and they goes up and come down like speed of a plane, or maybe faster than rocket. I don't know how people manage those investments. But there has been a story of coming down by 30 to 35%. The stock market generally is playing tipsy-turvy, means coming up and down. Few days it comes up, few days it comes down. That's normal in a democratic president taking control of this country, which we have seen. Any questions? You can call the studio line. Studio lines are open, 408-912-5038, 408-912-5038. There's a studio line for listeners who have questions, tax questions in their mind, always thinking about how to is there any way to reduce taxes for capital gains where 401k plans, for Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, for foreign income reporting? Uh, any other question that you have, this is time to connect with the CPA on air, and the studio lines are open 408-912-5038. This is Sanjay Gupta, CPA, who's giving this, who's presenting this show. I have 4 offices, basically 3 offices virtual, 1 is virtual. So Fremont, Sunnyvale, and Pleasanton are open. During this COVID period, we have been open during the COVID. We took all the necessary precautions during the tax season also. But now with our entire staff is fully vaccinated, and we entertain people in our offices who are vaccinated. So we do care in those, and the tax filing season we have people in the office, but we have taken all necessary precautions in our offices. As we are seeing the decline in the cases for COVID in US, of course, it's a very sad story what is happening back home in India. But now the things are improving, particularly in my main city of Delhi. Things are a little bit improving. Of course, there's lockdown there till May 24th, not to mention that, and they might be extending lockdown for a week or more. But I believe that lockdown was little late. It should have been done earlier. But politics is politics. We're not here to discuss politics, but that is something which is definitely taking a toll on the life of a normal people. 408-912-5038 is the studio number. If you have any questions, you can call this line, 408-912-5038. We are doing a webinar on coming soon in the month of July, on July 17th, is on mid-year tax planning. Mid-year tax planning. So it's important webinar on a lot of interesting topics that is happening this year. Maybe this year is the only year that people can take advantage of lower long-term capital gains tax rate, lower AMT tax rate, lower inheritance basis, lower highest individual tax rate, or 37%, lower QBI deduction. It might go out with Tax Cuts and Jobs Act might be changed next year, and lower overall taxes, which is the only year. If President Biden gets what he says, maybe we are looking at taxes increase of about 10 to 15%. Who knows what? So I will be touching on those topics, on those areas, as we get more reliable information on those changes. Let's go to our dollar topic of the show, which is about changes, about the tax filing problems, errors. What issues we encounter after tax filing deadline? Tax filing deadline was on Monday, May 17th. Now, we have seen a lot of issues that come up. So let me go through that one by one. First issue that comes up always is, oh, I forgot to file the extension. What can I do? Well, time is running out. You should file the return as soon as possible. Once the extension is not filed, you cannot go back and file extension now. It will not be treated as filed on time. You will still be subject to penalties and interest. So only way out is to file the tax return as soon as possible. If you owe a lot of money, if you owe taxes. If you don't owe taxes and there's a refund, of course you have some time. You will lose some refund due to interest, but that's not much. So if you are getting a refund, don't worry too much about not filing an extension. But if you have payment for taxes, you should be worrying, because the penalty interest runs like a meter. It's very fast meter running. So you have to file your returns. You have to do all your things, get all your documents in order, and do the filing as soon as possible. What about the state? People take it for granted that state is automatic extension filing with the federal, but that does not happen if you have K1s. K1s are a share of profit from different investment in different states. For example, you might have a rental property in Virginia, a hotel, motel in Texas, or any other investment in Ohio or other states investment, and you get a K1. You have an LLC there, and you get a K1. But for those states, it's not automatic extension. You must have mailed out the extension. They might not be even e-filed. What happened in that case? Well, you will be subject to penalty and interest for the state because you don't file the extension for those states. So it's important that you do those things properly. Uh, Remember, extension is only for tax filings. Only for tax filings, not for tax payments. That's the normal. We think always, hey, we file extension. I don't want to pay taxes. I filed extension. I'm done for 6 months. That is not done. If you owe taxes, the penalty interests are running from January 15, not April 15, not May 17, not July 15, not September 15, not October 15. From till the date you file the return, the meter is running for federal and the state. So extensions never for tax payments. Tax payments are due by January 15th of the current year for prior years. Okay, so that's a issue that we always have, and we don't get clarity, and we always push it. Hey, I filed extension, I can get away from not making tax payment. This is all wrong. What happens? The another issue which you have seen is you owe a lot of taxes, but you see the payment has not been taken out from your banks, or the payment has been taken out for less. You owe $10,000, but you see only payment taken out $5,000. What happened there? What should we do? Or you owed a payment of $10,000, but you don't see the payment taken out from your bank. What can you do? Well, the solution for that is if you don't see the payment, you file a return, wait for a week or two, then connect with the IRS. But when you connect with the IRS, people come back and say, it's like holding the line for life. You can't get a live agent on the phone. That is not true. When there's a will, there's a way. So don't worry. You will get somebody on the phone. Just keep ringing. You have to. Because you have to think in your mind that you're saving money. By doing this, you save money because you can get somebody and you can find solution. They can give you time for making those payment, which is important. So have patience, keep connecting with IRS. That's the best way to avoid to have this when you have this issue. Sometimes people say, hey, I owe taxes. I did not make any payment. I want to do an installment plan. How can I do that? Of course, you can do an installment plan by filing the form 9465 up to a tax due of $50,000. But what about if you don't do that in an installment plan? Don't worry, you have to wait for the IRS to come back with your notices. And then you can connect with them and set up the plan. And there's automatic way of doing that online. Now, in certain cases, issue we have seen that business extension were rejected. Why rejected? Because of the nature of entity. Remember, business extensions are due by March 15, were due by March, not May 17th. And they did not look into those extensions. They said we filed an extension, but they did not see that the extension was not processed by the IRS because their entity was different in their record as compared to what they were filing the extension for. Example is they thought, always the people think they are S corporation. That's a normal thing. When people come to my office, when I ask that question, are you S corporation? You know the answer? Yes, I'm S corporation. When I ask them, do you file certain forms with the IRS? And they look at the ceiling and answer it, which form? That's what the answer they get. So they say, so it's very shocking to hear those answers. People don't know whether they are LLCs taxed as partnership, LLC taxed as S corporation, or as a S corp, C corp. They don't know anything. Single member LLC, they don't know. They just go online and form some entity, and don't go to a CPA to evaluate whether that entity is correct and whether that entity is correct for their nature of business. So now when this extension get rejected, which they were not knowing, and they filed a return taking that K1, thinking the business was accepted, extension was accepted, and they filed a business return. But because the extension was rejected, the business return was not processed, but they were not knowing, they took the K1 from that business on their personal filed the personal return, but that was not processed properly because the extension was rejected and a business return was not processed. That's also an issue. What about the issue that relates to California LLC returns? That's a big one. That's really a big one. If you have a single member LLC formed in California, you have to file a separate return. That is form number 568. What about the extension for that form? Is there automatic extension, or do you have to file a form for getting the extension? Well, it's automatic. But if you file the return and you forget to file the single member LLC, you'll get notice in the mail from the FTP, not now, not 2 months, not 5 months, maybe a year, with penalty interest for $800 plus all the other stuff. So if you have that LLC, you need to file 568 form for single member LLC as soon as possible. And then the big issue that always happened, they found additional document, which is broker statement. They forgot to report the broker statements because the broker statement came late or the broker statement was in an envelope. They did not care to even open it up. They just took time to went to the CPA, just put all the folders on the desk, but they forgot to one folder which was lying in the table covered up, which they don't know that folder was important, which they realized afterwards when they saw and teared that envelope and saw some important documents in tax document. Now they say what to do. That's a normal thing. 1099s, they missed out some 1099 documents. They found a corrected W-2 sent later. In a lot of companies, they send a corrected W-2. Corrected W-2 can come because of maybe some reporting, wages reporting requirements, some 401k requirements, some sick leave, paid leave, bonuses, whatnot. Corrected W-2 can come. So what happens there? Do you need to file amendment returns? Yes, you can need to file amendment return. You need to report all those things. When should we file the amendment return? When should we file that amendment return? And how should we file that amendment return? There's a Form 1040X. Can we e-file those amendment return? For filing the amendments, you have to wait. You have to wait. You cannot just process the amendment immediately after noticing those additional documents which were not reported. Reason? You think IRS works efficiently? I don't think so. They process a lot of millions of returns. So let them process the original return. Don't hurry up to file amendment as soon as possible. What will happen if you file amendment before they process the original return? They will not know which is original, which is amendment. And they will keep sending notices after notices, and you keep trying to answer those questions, keep trying and trying. One fine day, you will just get fed up. So it's better. Give them time, process the original return, and then file amendments. Any tax question, listeners, you have? This is the time to call. The studio lines are open. 408-912-5038. 408-912-5038. What we are talking about? We are talking about issues that come up after the tax filing deadline, which is important to understand because these issues are always comes out in one way or the other, and people don't have answers to those issues. They look for help, support, but they never get it. Never get it. Listeners, if you have any questions you want me to ask during my show, you are always welcome to email me at sanjeev@sanjeevcpa.com, SANGIV, sanjeev@sanjeevcpa.com. You can always call me after my show for setting a consultation appointment or for doing taxes or other tax planning. Always one number we have, all three offices, 510-825-7563. 510-825-7563. If you have any question at this time, right now, when this show is going on, the studio lines are open. And studio number is 408-912-5038. 408-912-5038. And it's another issue that comes up after tax filing is mistakes you find later on. That's very common. Oh, you have you have W-2s, your two W-2s, somehow there's a transposing errors. One W-2 was 47,677 and another W-2 was 24,500. 47,677 was reported 47,777, difference of $100. I have a caller here. Let me take this call. Good evening, this is Sanjeev Gupta, CPA.
संजीव जी नमस्कार, मैं भरत बोल रहा
नमस्कार जी.
हूँ सैन होजे से।
नमस्कार जी. नमस्कार जी. बताइए क्वेश्चन.
Thanks for doing this show. I have a quick question. Actually, I got an email for the PPE forgiveness from Bank of America, and what I found is it's already pre-filled with some dollar amount.
Right.
And then it is not allowing me to do any changes. It's saying this is the only amount you'll get is the forgiveness. So I'm confused what to do.
Yes, so it's a very good question. So once you receive an email from your bank saying this is what the fund they got from the SBA, this is the amount they're getting it with the interest. So that is the amount they are allowing you as for forgiveness. Any additional amount that is not forgiven, you will be subject to paying those amount at 1% interest with 2 to 5 years time. Now, if you don't agree with that and you have documentation to prove it, then it's better for you to connect with your lender and talk to them and find out why this amount was less. Okay?
Okay, so lender would be Bank of America in this case?
Yes.
Not SBA?
Not SBA. SBA is just a agency which is processing this, not reporting or collecting anything. It's the lender you need to connect with.
That is surprising because it's an 8-week period, right? So whatever the expenses you did during that time, that should be part of the forgiveness. I don't know how they calculate. Anyway, thank you for the information. I'll connect with them.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the call.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Yes. So we have only a few minutes left, and this is the time to connect with me on air. Studio lines are open, 408-912-5038, 408-912-5038. So we were talking about transposing errors. So our one W-2 was 47,677. The another W-2 was 24,500. Instead of 47,677, we reported 47,777. $100 difference. Now what you do? You found out later. Will you let it go? $100? No. You shouldn't let it go even for $1. Reason? Because there's either system will catch it. They will send you notice. And then their files will be open. You need to connect with them. It's better for you to file the amendment as soon as possible. Now, when I say as soon as possible, give them time to process the original return. Now, what time? How much time? We keep talking about this, but how much is the time? Reasonable time? Well, if you file the return, let's say on May 17th, give them 2 months time. 2 months time. 2 months is sufficient time. Okay. And then file the amendments. Don't file within that 2-month period. If you can hold on for more, that will be better. But at least 2 months time will be the reasonable time. So that's important mistakes. That W2 transposing error is a very common error which you find out. You notice that there's a mortgage interest that you paid on the house was not reported at all. You missed it. Or your CPA missed it. You found it later. So what to do now? Well, you can file amendment. Of course, then when you do that, remember the interest should be higher than the standard deduction if you're married filing joint for more than $24,000. If it's not more than $24,000, if you're not increasing the limit beyond $24,000, who cares? Don't file that amendment. Don't file amendment unnecessary. Amendment should always be filed with caution. This Sanjeev Gupta CPO was doing this show, and we do this show every Wednesday, 6:30 to 7. If you have any questions or you want me to answer particular questions, you can always email me at sanjeev@sanjeevcpa.com. You can register for my upcoming webinar on July 17th for midterm tax planning, mid-year tax planning, which is an important webinar. And with that, I just want to say thank you to all of you who've been listening to my shows. I really appreciate you and really I would hope that you take all new care for keeping safe and keep everybody safe in your family here in US as well as in India. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in today to Dollars and Cents, hosted by Sanjeev Gupta, CPA. Tune in next Wednesday and every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. If you have any questions about the program or its related topics, you can get in touch directly with Sanjeev Gupta, CPA by calling 510-825-7563. That's 510-825-7563 or visit sanjeevcpa.com.